William Steele, True Crime. I'm going to get right to the point here. You see what's behind me? One, these colors don't run. And two, I personally support and pray for the state of Israel, the people of Israel, and all of my Jewish friends. I am a Christian, not perfect by any stretch, but I tell you what, I know evil when I see it. And when you have a group like Hamas come in to another country and do the barbaric things that they did, there's no excuse for it, no matter what conflict they pretend to have with other human beings on this earth. We all share the same planet. You have no right to do what you did. And I ask God's protection on the brave Israeli soldiers, intelligence officers, as well as United States soldiers and intelligence people that are going to have to be dealing with this situation for quite some time. This is my formal announcement. Now, I have millions of fans. I have 12 million views on TikTok alone because of a show about me getting out of prison. But you know what? I probably have more views and fans than people that are well-known celebrities. And I'm just getting used to this. I'm just getting used to how to do this and asking people to go over to my YouTube channel and please subscribe, William Steele True Crime. But I tell you what, I see a lot of other celebrities staying quiet, especially a lot of A-listers. Well, I'm not going to do that. What's right is right. If you can't support the people that have been brutalized and victimized and slaughtered by this monstrous group, Hamas, you're not my friend. You're not a subscriber. I don't even care about your support here. Best I can do is pray for you. I support Israel, and I would hope my friends will put a comment in support of Israel as well. I wish there was more that I can do. Thank you for listening. Welcome to Steele the Spotlight Television and William Steele True Crime. Joining me with my guest, Ignacio Esteban, retired federal ATF agent. Welcome, Ignacio.
Hey, Bill. Good to be back, man. I enjoy doing our weekly shows that we're doing here. Unfortunately, not the best topic. Feel it's horrible what's going on in Israel, but I think it's important that we do discuss and have this conversation.
Right. As everybody can see from my backdrop, these colors don't run despite the political party that we have that seems to appease these monsters. And we support Israel. I support Israel. Any opinions that I say today on this show are my own and not the opinions necessarily of YouTube or it's corporations or even of Ignacio's. I think we share the same beliefs, but right. I'm going to have some strong opinions today.
Yeah, absolutely. We all do. I think it's horrific what happened in Israel. And those who don't know what happened was a complete invasion by Hamas, a terrorist organization out of Gaza, Palestine, right? Who for the last couple of years was playing docile, right? They didn't say they didn't want any more conflict with Israel. They wanted to work things out. And as we know now, they've been planning this now for 2 years, according to a Hamas leader, that it was a trick. They have fooled Israel. They fooled their intelligence unit. They fooled the CIA. They fooled everyone. Allegedly, even the Iranians didn't know about it, which I don't believe that at all, because Iran has been funding Hamas and Hezbollah for years and years and years. But they were training. They show the video. They had their camp. They were trained for the last 2 years. Well planned, well executed, unfortunately. And using those gliders to come in over the fence into that rave festival and executing all those concert goers there was horrible, horrible. And Bill, the worst thing ever was seeing what happened to those poor families in those areas nearby, getting dragged out, executed, burned, babies being decapitated. It's horrible things, Bill. Horrible things to see, witnessing that. If you haven't seen those videos, folks, check it out. It is just gut-wrenching, heartbreaking to see that.
The numbers as they stand now are approaching, I believe, 1,500 dead when Hamas invaded Israel. And I think close to 20 right now identified Americans. We don't know how many they kidnapped. And I know I did see some footage. I don't know how much you can get away with saying on here. The footage is absolutely horrendous.
Yes.
Things they've done to babies, unborn babies, killing many, many males while kidnapping essentially teenage girls and young women back into their miserable country where they can't get along with anybody. so they live in abject misery and poverty rather than joining the civilized world.
Yeah,
And
no,
so I saw
if you
the
have,
images of the guys
yeah,
being killed right in front of the women being dragged off by mobs of people who I hope the intelligence agencies obviously are working with all those photographs and are going to be targeting those people for the rest of their lives until they meet the end that they deserve.
that they do, yeah. I unfortunately feel, I think it's over 100, 150 hostages taken right now. They're in Gaza, and I feel the worst because I don't think they're gonna survive because the bombings, these terrorists, Hamas, they say they're gonna execute them all because they're seeing their own people being killed. But they started this situation. But unfortunately, I think the number is going to even be larger. Like I said, this is their 9/11, just like we suffered like that because of our friendship with Israel and our policies in the Middle East. They feel in their minds, which is absolutely wrong, they want to kill Israelis and Jews because they feel they're occupying their lands and they feel like this is what they're trained to do. But civilized people, when you have disagreements, they try to work things out. This is no way of doing. Cutting someone's head off is no solution. Destroying families, burning them alive. This is not the way to do things. Going in a festival, these are unarmed civilians going in there, well armed with AK-47s, and killing these people. That's not the way to do things. It shows Hamas control. You know what's disgraceful though? The Jihad Squad, right, in Congress, with AOC and the other two are supporting the Palestinians in their cause. Wow. Yeah.
Well, she needs to be arrested and prosecuted. I mean, that's giving comfort and support to our enemies. And
it's unbelievable. You should hear what they're saying. And the protests in New York City and around the country, in our country, is getting very intense between Palestinians and Israelis. And they're fighting and fighting. So things are going to explode here. And BLM, Black Lives Matter, had a poster supporting the Palestinians, Hamas, a terrorist group, with the gliders coming in, people coming in, and with the Palestinian flag. Unacceptable. We don't support that. I don't support that. No one should support that.
Disgusting, corrupt organization. It's been proven to be such. The leaders are all in trouble for buying multi-million-dollar homes with donated money. They are an absolutely disgusting group of race baiters. They are not out for solutions. They're out for revenge for perceived slights or real slights or whatever. You don't make martyrs out of criminals.
No.
Who, for example, reached for a police officer's gun and ended up getting killed. You don't make martyrs out of them.
No, you need police.
In that kind of society, go over to Palestine and hang out with Hamas.
Yeah. No, you need police in this country. Blue lives matter. All lives matter. It's important because without that, people without guns, most people are not well trained like I am or others who don't have firearms, so they can't defend themselves.
Right.
And if you can't call 911 and no one's going to come in, that's a problem. You don't want the criminals taking over, and that just empowers them. Just like in California, we talked about Gavin Newsom, his failed policies, not letting people have their weapons, not putting the trice more out there. Criminals know that, and they take advantage. But going back to Palestine, that whole situation now, the next step is, I don't know if you saw this, Bill, in the news, the huge buildup, the biggest reservist call out in Israeli history, over 300,000, right? Over 300,000. And a huge percentage, and they're ready to go into Gaza to go after Hamas. The problem is that I was looking at the video and the pictures, and you have commanders saying the urban warfare, the way it's set up there, it's going to be absolutely brutal. It's going to be impossible to save those hostages because they're going to be executed. Because once it starts there, it's going to be that. And now I heard from, I think from you and others, the Hezbollah might be coming from the north also. So this is an absolute disaster and war.
They said Hezbollah is much better armed than Hamas, and also supported by Iran, which this moronic president and administration released billions and billions of dollars to. And they got on TV here yesterday.
I told you that about it.
None of that's been available to them yet. Well, who the hell believes that? I don't believe that for a second.
No, $6 billion that were unfrozen for this horrific exchange. They had people here who were our Americans were falsely arrested, and the same thing what Putin did. And then you have these guys who were here on serious charges being released, and on top of that, to unfreeze $6 billion. I criticized that. We talked about that. I've done shows. If you want to check some of the stuff I'm saying, do a lot of shorts also, folks. You can check it on YouTube. I'm going to put this also on my channel too and Bill's channel. This is unacceptable. Very failed policies. So you know what they're going to use this money for? It's not going to humanitarian reasons. Hamas, Hezbollah, other groups are anti-American, anti-Israeli, whatever. Iran is still a nuclear threat. We cannot have Iran have a nuclear weapon because we don't know what they will do to it.
Yeah, it's incredible. I can't turn away from what's going on, and you feel helpless over here to do much of anything. And I'm a Christian. I'm far from perfect, but the only thing I can do is pray. But I've always loved the Jewish people, the Israelis. Um, it's just disgusting, and I don't even understand how legally the people can get away with supporting them here in the streets and in Congress when it's literally a terrorist group, and there are federal crimes you're violating when you support them in any way, shape, or form.
Check out what she's saying.
Prosecuted right here.
She's calling it the Israeli occupation, Jewish occupation, and it's justified. You can never justify this kind of violence.
No,
never can justify anything. If you're not happy with what's going on with the territories and the agreement, you have to work it out civilly. To go out there and do it like what these monsters did, it's unacceptable. The Hamas is a terrorist group, the other are terrorist groups, and there's no acceptance of that at all. But unfortunately, you're seeing a lot of people who do not like Israel in this country. It's really surprising how many people are really not supporting. But look what Putin did. Now let's go there. What happened yesterday with Putin at a press conference there, who had met before with the Prime Minister of Israel, right, Netanyahu, right, and he was trying to be forth, but now he's saying, well, this is a good thing because maybe now this gets their attention for the Americans, and they'll stop getting involved in my war in Ukraine. He wants us to get sidetracked with this, so we don't focus as much as we can, so he can take over and destroy Zelensky. So it shows what Putin's mentality is. He doesn't care about the Jews. He just wants, hey, you know what? Maybe this will distract the Americans, spend more money over there and more headaches, and not focus on what's going on in Ukraine.
Right, and try to understand everybody. Ignacio and I have pretty good insights about what's going on, especially, with politics and world events.
Yeah,
a lot of things we've said on the show have come true a week or two later. So I predict that China now is going to move. What was that country?
Taiwan.
When they're trying to invade
Taiwan.
They're going to go in there now because guess what? We're distracted. Hezbollah is going to go in. It's going to be a wider war. We're going to have to get involved. Then Iran's going to get involved. We're going to know Iran's behind it. We're going to have no choice but to strike Iran. And here we go, because we have a weak president who does nothing but let the border be flooded. The border, there was reports yesterday about the hundreds of Hezbollah, Hamas, ISIS connected terrorists that have been caught coming through the border.
Yeah, the border's porous.
Can you imagine how many thousands have gotten in the months leading up to this?
It could be. I mean, this was a surprise attack against Israel. Their intelligence didn't pick it up. The Israeli intelligence didn't pick it up. CIA didn't pick it up. NSA didn't pick it up. No other didn't pick it up. Well, that means maybe we're not picking this up again. Maybe this is another 9/11 for us again. So we have to be careful.
If you are watching this show and you support what Hamas is doing, you need to unsubscribe, in my opinion, because you have disgusting groups in this country that are supporting Palestine, supporting Hamas. In this moment, whether you support, some kind of peace between the countries, which everybody has sought for decades, and these people refuse to. They said the Iranians will not quit until the Jewish people are dead and the American people are dead and the Christians are dead. That's been their mantra for decades.
Yes,
they don't want peace. They want to kill everybody in their path that doesn't agree with them.
They don't want the Israelis there. They don't want a Jewish state. And people, if you don't know history, why was this formed? Why was Israel formed? Well, because of the atrocities in Europe, right? What happened with the Nazis and the Holocaust, right? So 6 million Jews executed. So they needed a home, somewhere where they can fight, somewhere they can exist. And that's where the form of Israel. And the U.S. was the first country to recognize the formation of Israel when it was formed back in the 40s.
They lie and propagandize, an ignorant public here and say that was always their land. It wasn't. They were nomadic people. They were wandering all over the deserts of the area. They did not have a country. So
but now they still have Gaza.
What?
Yeah, the Palestinians have Gaza. They have the West Bank, and they have Eastern Jerusalem. So they have quite a bit of land themselves. You have to develop it, a nation, and work with. I bet if they were different kind of people, and they worked with the Israelis, you can see a different kind of nation come out for Palestine.
The Israelis are some of the most scientifically advanced, most prosperous country on the planet, and they're doing better than virtually every country around them. And they're willing to cooperate and share their technology and their, all their different developments with the world and with people, but these people just want to slaughter them. So why bother?
No, when you get brainwashed like that from day one, it's hard. I mean, they're just saying we have to kill the Jew. We have to kill the Jew. We can't let the Jew exist. I mean, you get brainwashed, and they're celebrating the death of all the Jews, and then after they kill them, they behead them, and they're celebrating, taking pictures, beheading these people, these families. That's just monsters. These are people who are, I tell you how you make someone a sociopath, a psychopath, like the Sicarios did, or how a serial killer developed. You start at an early age desensitizing. They have been completely desensitized, and now they will execute because they've been programmed to kill Jews, and that's what they're going to do.
Right.
Nazis were the same way. They got desensitized, where they felt like this was an inferior people, and we had to destroy them, and they feel the same way. They're a different kind of Nazi. They're not a white supremacist Nazi. They're about Muslim Islamic. They're Muslim Islamic extremists that want to destroy the Jewish nation.
Right. It's just like, many of the Muslims, once they catch on to what's going on, they try to basically flee that religion, just like a lot of Democrats that realize all the failed policy. A lot of Democrats bailing out, in my opinion, and that's my observation. And there's many, many groups talking about it now. But a lot of them are too terrified to turn their back on it because a lot of their beliefs call for, kill the infidel, behead the infidel. If you try to convert a Muslim to the Christianity or any faith, you're a problem and you should be killed. This according to the Hadith and according to some of their precepts. But you have these ignorant people in our streets that don't know what they really stand for and what's really behind them, and that these fanatical groups are actually following to the letter what they're reading in their own book, and they're inflicting this misery on the rest of the world.
Yeah, I mean, they attacked us 9/11 immensely. They're going to keep on coming at us. They don't want the United States and they're radicalized rather than living in harmony with different religions, different people. No, it's my way or the highway, and we can't have you have your beliefs because it offends us. Because we want to be, they don't like the United States being topped out. They don't like having Israel as their neighbor. They want to destroy these kind of cultures. They can't agree with, what, your culture is against what I believe in. I want to destroy you.
Right. Exactly.
It's horrible. So the question becomes now, Bill, you got 300,000 Israelis, right? They had the National Guard being called up. They're right there on the border now, ready for the biggest invasion in the history of Israel on Gaza, right? Gaza City is enormous. You have urban warfare. I see the pictures. The general is saying this is going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be brutal. How long and will this war last? What will it take? It could be months like that, because that kind of situation with those kind of people, and especially if Hezbollah gets involved, it's an all-out war. And then now we have already out there a Navy carrier, right? I think the Ford is out there, Gerald Ford, right? They're prepared, warning Iran not to get involved, or Egypt, or you don't know what other nations might want it. Maybe Syria. It could get really ugly. Passions are getting high, and people are taking sides, and they're saying, "Is an occupation? No, this is a terrorist act."
And they see monstrous, indefensible weakness in President Biden, incompetency and weakness. Yeah. He is parading around, sniffing women's hair and eating ice cream cones, and doesn't care about the misery his policies and indifference are inflicting on the rest of humanity all across this globe. I don't know what the Democrats are waiting for to join forces with the Republicans and remove him legally from office. This is out of control. We are going to be embroiled in world. There was no wars under Trump, to my knowledge. We didn't have anything going on. They were terrified of doing anything barbaric because you had a decent president who was highly effective. And when he said something, he meant it, and they knew it. Despite his personal failures, this man here, when he said something, he did it. They knew not to cross him. They knew not to invade. They knew not to, whatever they did. He gave the embassy back to where it belonged.
In Jerusalem. He moved it back to Jerusalem. And of course, they don't like that either.
There'll be bloodshed. Well, they keep on appeasing the terrorists, and this is exactly what they get.
No, it's horrible. If you haven't seen the videos, folks, you got to see the pictures and what happened and how that went down. But you're right. With Trump, he went after Islamic terrorists, right? Baghdadis, they took care of him. He was a bad one. And then when you had the Iranian general who was leading attacks to the U.S. embassy in Iraq, they took care of him too, right? That was a major strike against them. So big, bold moves that you need to take care of that. And that leads us to a different topic here also. We'll still go back to Israel here, how the election is going to play out for next year, right? You have Biden that's struggling, right? Which I have the book, Joe Biden One and Done. But I also wrote the book about RFK Jr. a few months ago, where he could just be the next U.S. president because he's running as an independent. He had it with the Democratic Party, his own family's party. Remember, he is a Kennedy legacy. His uncle was, Jack Kennedy, JFK. He was a president assassinated by Oswald. His father, Bobby Kennedy, senator of New York, was going to be president. He was going to beat Nixon. He pushed LBJ out, Lyndon B. Johnson, which is unprecedented, right? In '68, he was going to be president, assassinated by, angle here, kind of coming up full loop here, by a Palestinian named Sirhan, which many people thought in America was the first strike by the Palestinians because of his policies with Israel. He was very pro-Israeli. So this, some people think, was the first terrorist strike against the United States for having his pro-Israeli stance. I'll put that out there because that's an historical event that happened. And you can look at it now with different contexts, what's going on now. This has been going on for 50, 60 years now, the anger and the bloodshed here. But I think RFK Jr. could pull the upset because a lot of people from both sides are fed up with their parties. And I think he could be siding. And remember, he sides now a lot. He's very pro-life. He's devout Catholic also. He doesn't like these extended, endless wars. He's very strong, pro-environmentalist, and we've talked about it on the other shows. But now he's officially announced it as an independent who's had it with his own former party, who says it's become something that he doesn't recognize anymore. Right. And he doesn't like it. So
they appoint who they want for president. They don't allow the process to play out and who's most popular.
This is going to hurt him now. They should have, because in history, Bill, in the last 50 years, anytime there's been a strong third-party candidate, the incumbent has lost every time. Anderson did it to Carter, Perot did it to Bush, and now RFK Jr. is going to do it to Biden. Biden now, he's cutting is now going to be a one-term president. This has sealed his fate. And you heard it from me now.
Your book, One and Done, called it, but this does it because it splits the vote. It draws the Democrat voters away. Like I said, fleeing. The smart ones are fleeing that party. They see the failed policy. They see the absolute decay of the biggest, most beautiful cities in this country. You can't walk the streets without tripping over, bodies and feces and drugs everywhere. People cannot confront the shoplifter in the store. The police won't respond. If you do, you're going to jail. What kind of crazy way are these Democrats running this country where there's no accountability?
No, it's horrible. No, the supporting the BLM it's a disaster, right? You need policing. You need policing in this country. People need it. Support BLM. Blue Lives Matter. Do not defund the police. That's horrible. Homeless situation, unacceptable. Like I said, when I used to be in ATF headquarters, Union Station, that's before COVID, and even during, it was atrocious. I could only imagine now. I don't like it, but I see the images out there. Homeless keeps on going worse. You go to Oakland, you see a picture of San Francisco, you see a picture of Los Angeles, Chicago, New York. It's out of control. We as a country need to rein this in, clean it up, find them a home. We're spending a lot of money. We need them off the street. It's a health issue. It's unsafe. It's unsanitary. They're using drugs. It's just not safe to have these people like this. We need it out of there. And on top of that, it's bad for business and it's bad for tourism. Period.
All this crime when the Republicans were in order. Now, I obviously, as somebody who was incarcerated, don't believe in harsh sentencing for nonviolent offenders. Maybe they should get some help, whatever. But the violence you need to deal with it.
Yes.
Under Trump and the Republicans, this was being dealt with. The cities were, the tourists weren't fleeing, the police weren't quitting their jobs, were getting killed, en masse all over this country. That people are now shooting right back at the police, way more than they ever did under Trump.
Yes.
And massacre after massacre, shootings, people thinking they can go into, a Target or Walgreens and go in with 40 people and loot the entire store.
That's unbelievable.
If you touch them as a citizen or an employee, you are going to jail, not them. And they'll sue you.
Yeah.
So who stays in business in that environment?
You can't.
Those people that make those policies and behave like that need to go to a country like Palestine, and they could all go over there and have fun living in misery and medieval times. and including there's a Playboy, somebody that the Playboy banned. I forget her name. I'll put it up here. But so they
Oh, I
banned
saw her.
her,
Yes, I
yeah,
did.
for
I did see
supporting
that.
Hamas. This lady
She supported their action, and they banned her. You know what? Anybody that supports that, but you know what? We have people in Congress, Bill. Look what's going on in Congress with the Jihad Squad that has been called. They are supporting the Hamas and what they're doing to poor Israelis. So, and that's within our own Congress.
If there's women in Congress that support these terrorists and they coddle them and love them and give comfort and support to the enemy, love them so much, why don't they move over there and see how they'll be treated as a woman in that culture?
You don't want to live in those. You don't want to live in Palestine.
They are a laughing stock.
You don't want to live in Gaza. You don't want to live in the West Bank. The way they act, the way they treat. Look what happened. We're doing so good in Afghanistan, right? And now the Taliban is trying to bring back women back to the Stone Age again and destroy them. They don't want them educated. They want to control them. They want them ignorant, right?
Because
they don't
that's
want
in
other
their
ethnic.
Quran and that's in their hadiths. That's in their belief system. Their core beliefs are exactly that. And for them to tell you otherwise is a lie.
Yeah, if you're not a religious person, they want to kill you. And if you're a Christian, they want to kill you. If you're a Jew, they want it's our way or the sword off with their heads. You know, they want to just
literally
beheadings. That's why these people are violent. Oh, you don't believe me? Boom. No, that's not the way it is. And that's why America has to stay strong. This is why I keep on saying we have to stay strong. We have to keep on keeping our military strong. We have to stay home at home with the policing and abroad because the monsters everywhere. When you show a little weakness, look what happened in Ukraine. Look what happened in Israel. Look what happened in other places. The monsters come out and they do horrific things. That's why I always say you can't expect the police to save you. Unfortunately, a lot of these people were not armed, Bill. They didn't have guns in their homes because at least if you have a firearm, you have some weapons, you defend yourself when the monsters come in, right? Because you don't want to see your kids being beheaded or cut in half or horrible things while you're there. You need to fight and fight. So I always say have your weapons ready, prepare yourself, train, because the police are not going to come in time. These people are not going to come in time. And look how it's over, what, 1,400 and counting?
I was kind of shocked, and you never blame the victim, of course, and I'm not doing that. But they know they're surrounded by enemies who chant death to them all the time. You have a venue where, I don't know if there was 1,000 people or 500. Why weren't some of the people there armed? They're all compulsory military. You know, 4 or 5 guys with, you know, what do we give them? M16s or whatever, could have fended off these people coming in on, you know, they came in on paragliders, dropping hand grenades and with machine guns in their arms.
Horrible.
I mean, how come nobody shot back?
I never seen anything like that. That is something so creative, unbelievable. It's
they
sci-fi.
Said that Israel and or Hamas, not Israel, excuse me, Iran or Hamas, literally shut down the internet and military communications with gigantic cyber warfare attack in the minutes before the invasion. This way, they were kind of blind and did not know this was going on for quite a while.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible. And it took Israel a couple of days to finally rid themselves of these terrorists in their country that were hiding, killing, and executing people. And they took, I think the number could be even higher, at least 200 hostages, and which they're going to execute them because once Israel comes in, they're going to start executing all these people. I just heard the other day that, or last night, that there was a house that had like 50 hostages. They burned down, executed. So it's horrible what they're doing. They're going to kill more.
Now we talk about the mystique of the Mossad. We've always loved the Mossad. They're all effective. Their motto is kill them first, because if somebody makes a legitimate threat against Israel or Jewish person, you know, they believe it's a legitimate threat, they go after them. They don't care. They go after them, eliminate it before it happens. You know, so that's their model. They've always been, you know, supported by us, by, you know, NSA, CIA, all the how many intelligence agencies we have. I don't even know.
They've been a great ally of ours.
How on earth did this invasion happen with, I don't even know, what was it, 500, 1,000? How many people from Hamas came in?
It could be more. I think the numbers are going to be even higher.
And not one intelligence asset was around them, either electronic intelligence.
Nobody picked this up. So what does that tell you about us, Bill?
We're extremely vulnerable, especially with this lousy excuse for a president allowing everybody to come through the border en masse, and there's nothing but infused with terrorists coming in.
If they've been planning this for a while and it hit Israel, maybe they're already here, and maybe they're already starting something here that we missed.
They're here. Yeah. Absolutely, they're here. I just saw on the news where they only caught in the last year, 150 direct members of terrorist groups that have it in for the United States. That's what they caught, and they're not catching many people. So if
and they're not happy. Every time we show support for Israel, Bill, they get angry and they want to come back and lash at us again. And that keeps on coming to this circle. So there's something going on with, they're going to have somewhere. I mean, they already killed, what, 15 Americans already? They were hostages, that they were Jewish Americans that were there. So it could be, the number could be higher. How many Americans end up dying there? Unfortunately, when they find out that it's an American, they want to kill them immediately because that's what they are. They hate American Jews. So
unfortunately, because of all the terrorists that Biden deliberately let slip into this country, I really do feel that once Hezbollah joins the fight, and they will. Once they join the fight and Iran gets involved or we strike Iran, the second that happens, all these sleeper cells that have been planted in this country
unleashed
are doing sabotage attacks around here.
And not just us. I think they're ready in Europe. And watch out for them in Europe too, because the French are also very weak. And look at the horrors they've done in France the last few years out there.
You were in federal law enforcement. You were in federal law enforcement. I'm sure at this stage, yourself personally and FBI and your different counterparts, especially in these what do they call threat?
They're hearing the chatter. I imagine with the CIA, they're getting a lot of chatter, and the counter-terrorist units are hearing stuff, and they're preparing because this is where the next level. This is now the huge, I guess, jihad they want. They want a jihad, all right, a holy war in their minds. So they got their jihad. Now they're going after the Israelis, and then they want to take out the Christians, the Catholics. They want to go to war. And don't be surprised they hit the Vatican, because they feel like the Vatican is a target because that's where the Pope's at. And they want to send a message.
Yeah, and like I said, and here with all the ones that are sneaking in the border, you know, if you look at the videos, thousands and thousands of people coming in. Many are terrorists. Many have been captured and identified as belonging to various terrorist groups.
Yeah, it's scary.
I guarantee you, if you were still in federal law enforcement, you'd be hearing all the alerts and, hey, we have a group here, we have a group there, and
yes. You don't have to be in law enforcement to know this, because it's out there being leaked, and people know. You go online, you start looking at different channels, you know what's being said, you know what's coming out there, and we have common sense. You don't have to be. Once you start seeing the pattern and you look at history repeats itself, and guess what? We know what's going to happen next. We know what these people do.
There's sites that have leaked information from law enforcement that's out, for example, today, that would say, for example, I'm not saying there's already 2 cells in Miami or 2 groups getting ready to do something. That's being leaked.
I think you just look at history. You know, we had 9/11, right? Mm-hmm. What led it? You had the African bombings, right? The coal. I mean, they were attacking us already up to 9/11, right? And bin Laden was preparing this. This is a major attack in Israel. What made you think that they didn't have something here prepared? Because they have a lot of Palestinians also who are pro-Hamas, right? They live in this country, right? So prepare for a certain attacks. And I bet in Europe, because they're very active European cells, prepare for something in Europe also. So, and don't forget, Bill, next year is the Olympics. You heard from me first. And these Islamic terrorist groups love to attack the Olympics. You remember Munich? What happened in Munich to the Israelis, right, in 1972? How they kill those hostages, horrifically how they killed them. Look at what happens. We'll see what happens in Paris next year in Paris.
Here's the thing also, that these groups are not only here, I believe, and getting ready to mount some kind of internal attacks or terrorist activities. I kind of lost my train of thought for a second, but it's just disgusting, and it's gonna get way worse. I mean, the writing's on the wall. You had a situation at 9/11 where, was it Coral Springs or something in Broward County, where the apartment complex where some of these people were living, the Mossad was already on their tail, and they had agents living in the same apartment complex, keeping an eye on them. And I think it was the FBI office in South Florida told them to stand down. They're told
I didn't hear that, but I know they had certain intelligence, and it was a failure where you have people training only to fly a plane, not to learn how to take off or land it. Well, that there was a lot of things going on with these guys and their names and everything else.
Were you an agent during 9/11?
Yeah, yes, I was.
In South Florida?
In Tampa. I was in Tampa.
Because remember, some of the flight training took place at Lantana Airport. You know where Lantana? Yes. Mm-hmm. And then there was the one guy who got pulled over by the police, one of the terrorists. He got pulled over a day or 2 before, and then they were in strip clubs. You know, these devout Muslims were.
No, they're not devout anything.
I mean, everybody's
You know what I heard, Bill? Most of these guys are atheists who don't believe in any of this stuff, and they end up weaponizing their religion to go after, because they're full of hate, anger against the Jewish state and the Christians and whoever else, and they just weaponize it to other people. But a lot of them some of them are atheists and don't believe in any of this stuff.
Right. Yeah, but that story was definitely out there, and I believe there was to it. There was verified that the Mossad was told by FBI. I don't know if it was Fort Lauderdale or Miami. We know you're here surveilling them. We know they're here. Stand down. You know, you're not going to conduct.
I know there's going to be internal look, just like we did with ours after 9/11 report, the failures with the CIA and the FBI and others to miss this. There's going to be the same thing with Mossad, their failures in intelligence to completely miss this, one of the worst attacks in 50 years in Israel. And it's not going to be over. It's going to open up the door for Hezbollah. It's going to open up the door for other attacks. But this is definitely something where a massive failure to miss it. And they were training. You can see the videos because they were showing the videos of them still training. They just lied to the Israelis. They said, listen, we're tired of fighting. We're not going to attack you. It was a doll, but really it was a facade. And then they unleashed hell on them.
I saw some footage this morning that they were starting to release from one of the checkpoints has a big sliding gate like you might see in a prison. The top has a razor ribbon. The bottom had a gap about this big where a slim person could go under it. And there was a booth there, you know, like a guard booth for, I guess, Israeli military or whatever, to let people in or out of the border. These guys snuck up along the side of that fence, tried to get under it. I don't think he could. But then he went to the booth. There was nobody, it seemed like, in the booth. He breaks the glass, goes inside the booth, rolls the sliding thing wide open, lets all his buddies come flooding.
More people come in, yeah.
And I'm like, and then when somebody came who was Israeli through there, they acted like that, you know, they were held up at the gate for a second, and they just machine gunned them down in their vehicle. Just walked up to the vehicle and sprayed it.
No, they started spraying. You guys see a lot of those videos out there. But that fencing they had, a lot of the fencing wasn't very impressive either. I thought the fencing they would have with Gaza would be better because they pretty much went right through it with different equipments and tools they had and bulldozers, and they just crushed it. And it was a wide open. And you just see the masses of Hamas terrorists coming on in. I think the number was over 2,000 that came in there because allegedly they said originally kill over 1,000. But I don't know. That's the number that was thrown out there. But just watching them coming and flooding from you know the gliders coming in from land, from everywhere else, it just was a nightmare. And in Israel, like you said, they didn't have the communication to know what was going on either. That's a double whammy. That's a double whammy.
We're gonna try to wrap this up so we can get this out on the TV show as well. Still, Spotlight TV is starting to blow up. We're going to be submitting to the studio our 21st episode already. And
nice.
You are in most of them. You're my most popular guest / host, and I'm grateful because you definitely bring some good numbers, and I appreciate this collaboration. You know.
It's heartbreaking. Our thoughts are with the Israelis and this horrible time, but it's only going to get worse. Unfortunately, they're about to enter, like they said, one of the worst periods in their history because of what's going on.
I will say this. I'm very humbled by the popularity I have because of a simple reality show about getting out of prison, Inmate to Roommate on A&E Network. I literally have millions of fans. I wish they'd all come over here and subscribe, but that's the challenge, to try to convince the people that saw me getting out of prison on that show to come over. However, it sounds crazy saying this about myself, but okay, I'm a celebrity. I'm famous all of a sudden. I might even be A-list, even though I'm not in movies, you know, whatever, just yet. And there's certain things in the works. But I think I have bigger numbers than like many, many celebrities whose names are a household word as far as fan base. And so I find it completely disgusting that so many A-listers are staying quiet about this.
Oh, it's horrible.
I am a low-level celebrity in my eyes, even though other people might think otherwise, and fans of a certain demographic love me and call me inspirational. I, no matter what, support Israel. The rest of these celebrities need to stop staying quiet. It's disgusting. You guys,
socialists don't support Israel.
Causes that turn out to be frauds and cons and this and that, and you advertise for all these fraudsters, and yet something that's right in front of you, massacres, you refuse to get on here and call it wrong.
Yeah, you know why also Israel government right now is very conservative, right? And they don't like that either. That's another.
Imagine if these animals, these Hamas terrorists, Hezbollah, ISIS went into your house,
and
slaughtered your kids in front of you.
How else are you gonna act?
beheaded you on national television and took the women in your house back to their country for whatever their purposes are. And we all know where that's going.
Yes.
Imagine that. And you're a celebrity and you think you're immune to this? This is happening to hardworking, educated people and celebrities in another country. And you're staying quiet. You're not getting on the airwaves. You're not using your voice.
You're surprised. And Hollywood has a lot of Jewish Americans. You should hear a lot more out of Hollywood.
Absolutely.
The outrage. You should hear a lot more out of New York and out of Wall Street and out of Hollywood at the outrage what's going on here.
Murder is murder. Right is right. Wrong is wrong. Murder is murder. Period.
Yeah. On both sides, it need to be more vocal. Everybody more. And we try. We do our bit with our show here, and we're both writers. And we've both been published. Like I said, I have now over 75 books published on Amazon. My books are on Audible, ATF Undercover, and the most dangerous crimes of our time. I know you think about doing some Audible books too out there. But you know what? This is a platform we have. We get our message on my YouTube channel. You find me, Ignacio Esteban. I talk a lot about current event topics. I do shorts, and I do about sometimes 35 minutes also. And I talk about this. I talked about the election. I talk about things that are going on in politics. I also talk about I'm not happy with Ken McCarthy being removed Speaker of the House, and they can't get a speaker going on. Now they have a huge problem now with Stephen Scalise, who they just nominated, and they can't even get the votes for him now because of his past ties with the Klan and the KKK and Louisiana, and him doing something with David Duke. I said, well, if you had this guy, why would you pick him? So common sense is being lost, and you know what? When you don't have a party that functions, you're going to lose the House next year. So that's what they're sending the message.
And I do think that even all his criminal charges notwithstanding, that Trump's going to win the next election for president.
I think it's going to be RFK Jr.
I don't see.
I think it's going to shock the world because
I'm running for president in
2028. We'll keep an eye, and then maybe I'm still considering. We'll see about Congress. If things don't get act together, maybe I have to go out there anyways. So
you're interested in our stories, our backstories, our current stories, and what we're doing today. All the links for my books and Ignacio's books are in the description. I write true crime from the point of view of like victim advocacy and trying to expose some people that I knew that ended up committing horrendous crimes, and I regret ever knowing them. Coming out with several more books, putting some books up on Audible, and Ignacio's books are incredible. He's got 76, 77 books out already, and he's become a good friend in his retirement from ATF, and I'm again grateful for this collaboration.
Yes. And one more plug I have for you guys is that I'm also going to be helping History Channel with a show that's coming back, Gangland Chronicles, which used to be called Gangland, very popular about 15 years ago. I've been talking to the producers. They're looking at my books. I'll be on the show being interviewed, and we'll see what more they do with it. So it's exciting. That's going to be a big show. And this probably 18th ranked show, 18th ranked channel on cable. So it should have about 1 million viewers an episode. So that should be well too.
Make sure they pitch your story to the people in development to try to see if you can get it up there. Now, listen. Now, keep in mind what he just said. Gangland series. This is true crime. That was huge, exposing gangs, biker gangs, this, that, the inner workings, the leadership. The new and revised version of it. There goes your expert right there, Ignacio.
Yes,
he has been called upon as a consultant / probably they're gonna have you come on screen and narrate. You have the voice for it too, because. Me, I get a little animated and all this, but you're a serious law enforcement type guy. You have that steady law enforcement approach to things,
Yeah. So Gangland Chronicles, I look forward to seeing it. I'll be probably interviewed either November, December, they're telling me, and we'll be talking about MS-13, Mara Salvatrucha. That's what got their attention. One of the producers was telling me he kept on looking MS-13 up, and my book kept on coming up. So he decided to read it and he reached out to me on LinkedIn. Give me his background. We went back and forth, and then I did a Skype meeting with them, and from Toronto, because they're from Toronto, and they really didn't have background on certain groups, so I kind of filled them in, and that's where we're at right now. So that's exciting, something different. Like I said, when I retired from law enforcement, I never thought I'd be doing all this stuff, and never thought I'd be meeting you, Bill, and doing the weekly shows and doing these books and everything else I've been doing, from ATF headquarters, from undercover to everything else we're doing. You never know in life. Message is, you just keep on plugging away and good things happen.
That's right. And if you have good intentions, good things start coming your way.
Yeah.
I will say this about your Gangland Chronicles, the remake of the Gangland series on History Channel.
Yeah.
I was at a Supermax in Virginia because I escaped from prison. So they put me in solitary for almost 4 years. And But you were allowed in Virginia to have TVs, and there was the station. I don't know. Golly, I can't remember the name of it at the moment. It's maybe Spike TV or something like that. But
Okay.
it had that Gangland show on it all.
Serious.
But I had
I
never
like the
really
show.
seen it. Yeah, so I saw every episode several times because I'm incarcerated, and there's nothing much else to do besides write my books. And that show was fascinating, deep dive
It
into
is.
what makes these gangs, and they had that music that went all the time. You know, it was really fascinating and informative. I know you have way more knowledge than those people could ever put on a 1 hour show, but
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating and fun too. And not just street gangs, but you have prison gangs, you have biker groups, you have Italian mafia, you have all different groups in there. So it's going to be a fascinating show to watch again. It's been a while, so I'm glad they're bringing it back up.
got it. You got to talk about the pizza connection case. I'm trying to get away from that because I got to get healthy, and I'm leaning towards keto. It's not working out too good. I might do a book called The Keto Connection Case.
There we go, man.
Tongue in cheek. God bless Israel. Prayers for Israel.
Yeah.
The colors behind us don't run. We have a president who does, but bottom line, the majority of Americans stand by Israel. And
One and done. Joe Biden, Bill. One and done.
Israel.
RFK has sealed his fate.
Yep. Everybody, thank you for joining.
Thank you, guys. All right.
On Steel Spike TV, soon to be radio again, and William Steele True Crime. Thank you for joining. 110.
All right. You gonna end record?
Yeah, I'm gonna put that right now.